Apple just released a $599 MacBook. Yes, a real MacBook. It's called the MacBook Neo, and somehow it costs less than most Windows laptops, while still being made entirely out of aluminum. But here's the strange part. Instead of an M-series chip, it runs on the same processor used in the iPhone 16 Pro. So the real question is the MacBook Neo a budget masterpiece or Apple's most confusing laptop yet? And more importantly, should you buy it instead of the MacBook Air? After running performance tests, editing photos, exporting videos, and even gaming on it, the results are honestly surprising. So let's break it down. Despite its low price, the MacBook Neo still carries Apple's signature premium design. The entire chassis is built from aluminum, which immediately gives it a sturdier feel than most laptops in the $500 range. Many competing Windows laptops at this price rely heavily on plastic, but the Neo feels just as solid and well-constructed as the MacBook Air. Interestingly, the Neo is slightly thicker than the Air, but it's also a bit smaller overall. That actually works in its favor for portability. If you travel frequently or work in tight spaces like airplane tray tables, the Neo fits more comfortably while maintaining almost the exact same weight as the Air. Apple also introduced brighter colors like citrus, indigo, and blush, with matching keyboard accents and UI details. Compared to the more mature color palette of the Air, the Neo clearly targets users who want something more playful and expressive. Moving to the display, the MacBook Neo features a 13-inch screen, which is slightly smaller than the 13.6-inch display on the newer MacBook Air models. While the difference isn't huge, the smaller size does reinforce the Neo's focus on portability. The bezels are also thicker than the modern Air design, though still slimmer than older MacBook models in some areas. Brightness reaches 500 nits, which matches the Air lineup and keeps the display perfectly usable even in bright environments. However, there are a few compromises. The Neo doesn't support the full P3 color gamut, meaning it can't display the same range of colors as the MacBook Air. For casual users, this probably won't matter, but photographers and video editors may notice the difference. One small advantage, however, is the absence of the notch. Without it, the menu bar remains fully visible, which many users will appreciate when using multiple apps. The typing experience on the Neo is surprisingly good. Apple used the same keyboard design found in the newer MacBook Air models, including the larger function keys that many users prefer. Typing feels comfortable and responsive, making it perfectly suitable for writing, note-taking, or everyday productivity. There are a couple of trade-offs, though. Touch ID is only available on the 512GB model, which means base model users will have to rely on passwords unless they unlock with an Apple Watch. The keyboard also lacks a backlight, which might be inconvenient in darker environments. The trackpad, on the other hand, is excellent. It's made of glass, supports multi-touch gestures, and offers precise control. Unlike the Air's haptic feedback system, the Neo uses a mechanical click, but the experience is still smooth and satisfying. For a budget MacBook, the speakers on the Neo perform surprisingly well. While the M3 and M5 MacBook Air models deliver louder and more detailed sound, the Neo still holds its own with richer bass compared to the older M1 Air. For watching videos, listening to music, or attending online classes, the audio quality is more than good enough. The webcam and microphones tell a different story. In side-by-side tests, the Neo produces softer images and weaker audio than the Air models. The M3 Air delivers the sharpest video quality, while even the older M1 Air produces clearer visuals than the Neo. That said, the Neo's camera is still perfectly usable for video calls. The main concern is the lack of a hardware indicator light when the camera or microphone is active, relying instead on software notifications. Connectivity is another area where the MacBook Air has a clear advantage. The Neo includes two USB-C ports, but only one supports 10 gigabit speeds, while the other is limited to USB 2.0 speeds. This restriction becomes noticeable if you connect fast external drives or accessories. In contrast, the MacBook Air lineup provides Thunderbolt ports with 40 gigabit speeds, making them far more capable for professional workflows. External monitor support is also limited on the Neo. It can only drive one external display at 4K resolution, while newer Air models support higher resolutions and multiple monitors. If you rely heavily on docks, displays, or high-speed storage, the Air is clearly the better choice. Performance is where the MacBook Neo becomes particularly interesting. Instead of an M-series chip, it runs on the Apple A18 Pro, the same processor used in the iPhone 16 Pro, though with one GPU core disabled. While that might sound unusual for a laptop, the results are surprisingly capable. In GPU tests like 3D Mark Solar Bay, the Neo performed almost identically to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. In Blender CPU rendering, it took 14 minutes, slightly slower than the M1 Air's 13 minutes. However, GPU rendering completed in 1 minute and 39 seconds, beating both the M1 and M3 Air, thanks to hardware-accelerated ray tracing. In Lightroom photo processing, the Neo took longer to complete heavy editing tasks, but exported images faster than some Air models. These results show that while the Neo isn't designed for professional workloads, it still performs well in lighter creative tasks. Gaming results also surprised many testers. Running Cyberpunk at default settings delivered a stable 30 frames per second on the Neo, which is impressive considering the chip originated in a smartphone. The M1 Air achieved similar results, while the M3 and M5 models pushed higher frame rates at better visual settings. When all devices were tested at identical settings, the Neo averaged 24 FPS, matching the M1 Air. The M3 and M5 Air models performed significantly better, reaching 35 and 52 frames per second, respectively. This confirms that the Neo can handle light gaming, but it's not meant to compete with higher performance laptops. So when should you actually choose the MacBook Neo? If you already own an M1 MacBook Air, upgrading to the Neo probably isn't worth it. Performance is similar or sometimes slower, and you lose features like True Tone and the full P3 color display. In that situation, upgrading to a newer MacBook Air would be a more meaningful improvement. However, if you're deciding between a refurbished M3 Air and the Neo becomes a strong value option. You save a significant amount of money while still getting solid everyday performance. And if you're comparing it to the M5 MacBook Air, the Air is clearly more powerful, but it also costs nearly twice as much. For students and casual users focused on browsing, office work, and streaming, the Neo offers impressive value for the price.